with breaking news happening now. This is Wave News.
And we're following this breaking news this morning. A police response after an early morning shooting at a club. One man is dead and another hurt. This happened in Shively.
It happened on 7th Street Road near Arcade Avenue. That's where Wave News reporter Kirsten Foote is live at the scene this morning, where police are still gathering evidence. What do we know right now, Kirsten?
Yeah, details are very limited right now, but police are outside Club 7, which is on 7th Street Road here in the Shively area. And they've been out here for several hours in the cold working to collect evidence. And some of that evidence, it stems from the street all the way up to the doors of the building and the sides of the parking lot. Now, police tell us that this happened around 3:20 this morning. They're called out to this location. They say that a man in his 20s was pronounced dead at the scene. The second victim is at a local hospital, and they say that that person should survive. They didn't add any other details about what might have led up to this shooting. And I looked up the hours of this club, and on Google it says that Club 7 is open on Sundays from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. and they're closed Mondays. Now, again, like I said, they're still investigating. Police from LMPD and Shively PD are on scene. Some have left now. There's not as much of a presence as there was before, but still a lot of investigating and still a presence that is going on out here. Of course, we'll keep you updated as we learn more. Reporting live, Kirsten Foote, Wave News.
Thank you, Kirsten. And JCPS on a 2-hour delay today, waking up to another cold morning.
Yeah, and will it warm up a little bit for them at the bus stop, Tawana?
For the ride home, things are looking a lot better for them compared to what we're going to see for the ride in. So I think the kids will be a little bit happier with that. For those of you who are actually happy about going to school today, because I know some are, but we got it right. We are seeing some flurries flying anywhere from portions of Jennings County now into Scott County, getting that going on for those of you in Indiana. This will push into Jefferson County, Indiana within the next really 20 to 30 minutes. Still some of those flurries in parts of Franklin County, Spencer County, and down into Washington County as our temperatures are actually warming up. So those areas that were in the mid-teens now warming up, and more of us getting into those low to mid-20s to start off the day. We'll end up in the low to mid-30s for this afternoon. So keep that in mind as we have those clouds overhead. So make sure you're bundled up for the cold that will still be there as the day goes along. And then we have the alert day in place for tomorrow as we watch for rain and snow coming our way then. Rob.
Tawana, thanks so much. And at 7:02, good Monday morning to you as you prepare to head out the door to work, to school, maybe to an early appointment. There is a traffic snafu I want to point out to you. This is 65 north at the outer loop. A report of a 2-car accident just after 6:30 this morning, really tying things up out there. So you see at least 2 emergency responders over to the side. Certainly watch your speed in that area. This is 65 again at the outer loop. Otherwise, not looking too bad out there right now. Your Metro traffic cameras looking pretty much clear for the most part out there. No snow plows out there like we've had to contend with for the last week or so, and that's certainly a good thing. But watch your speed, and we'll check in with you a little bit later today. Shannon.
Thank you. And JCPS students back in school today, but it will be a delayed start. This is their first day back in person after a full week of snow days and NTI days because of the winter storm. So they're on that 2-hour delay. So 7:30 school start at 9:30, 8:40 a.m. school start at 10:40, and then 9:40 will start at 11:40. Students will still be dismissed at the regular time. After school activities will remain scheduled to as planned. And JCPS is asking those parents who drive their kids to give themselves a little bit of extra time to get them in. Hardin County teachers will be back in class today, but the students won't be. The district will use today as a teacher work day. They'll be using it to prepare for future non-traditional instruction material if the weather causes more school closures. The district hasn't made a decision on whether or not schools will be closed tomorrow. To find the full list of closures and delays, just go to wave3.com. Other districts returning to the classroom on a delay include Crawford, Meade, and Jennings County in Kentucky, and Seymour, Salem, and Paoli schools in Indiana. Just click on the orange banner near the top of wave3.com to see all the closings and delays.
Looking ahead, a former LMPD officer who pleaded guilty to federal charges in connection to the Breonna Taylor case is set to be sentenced this week. Kelly Goodlett was accused of meeting with her partner Joshua Janes to talk about what they were going to tell investigators about the warrant used to enter Taylor's home in March of 2020. Goodlett pleaded guilty to 1 count of conspiracy as part of a plea deal. She'll receive her sentence on Wednesday.
Indiana State Police are investigating after a man died in a Jennings County house fire. Investigators say it happened around 7:30 6:30 Sunday morning at a home outside of North Vernon. It was on North County Road 350 West, just off of State Road 7. That's where firefighters and sheriff's deputies found the house filled with smoke. Once they got inside, they found the body of 33-year-old Cody Perry. Investigators are looking into his death and trying to determine how the fire started. Members of a Louisville church still found a way to celebrate even after their normal gathering space was burnt in a fire. Highland Park Missionary Baptist Church held their usual Sunday service at St. Paul Baptist Church in Shively. Highland Park's church off Shanks Lane was destroyed in a fire Thursday. Pastor Byron Cox says nothing was going to stop them from coming together yesterday.
As wonderful as the church building was and is, what a building means to a congregation, is the people, again, that are the hands and feet and the eyes and the heart of Christ and the church to keep the mission going.
Louisville Metro Arson is investigating the cause of the fire.
It could be until at least Tuesday before the House votes to reopen the federal government. The Senate passed a bill to fund the government on Friday. The House is expected to vote on that funding package on Tuesday. The legislation funds most government agencies through much of the year, except the Department of Homeland Security, which will only be funded for 2 weeks while lawmakers work to reform DHS's immigration operations. Some House Democrats say they won't support the deal without more restrictions on immigration operations.
We're learning more about a Friday night carjacking that took police on a miles-long chase.
A security guard who helped the victim call police tells us the suspect used an unusual weapon to get the woman out of her car. Rob Wells is back with details. Rob?
Hi, Olivia. A security guard who helped a carjacking victim Friday night said that the suspect allegedly used a butter knife to steal the woman's vehicle, leading to a police chase. The incident happened at 11th and Broadway when a woman stopped to check directions on her phone with her window rolled down. The suspect, later identified by police as Mark Dawson, allegedly approached her vehicle with the butter knife. After losing her car, the victim ran inside the Platinum Food Mart where Duke was working security.
She said that a young guy, about 20, 21, he pulled up and he got out her car, like towards her car, and pulled out a butter knife and tried to stab her with it. So she got nervous and jumped out of the car. She thought it was a gun.
LMPD officers found the suspect, Mark Dawson, about 20 minutes later driving the stolen vehicle and led them on a chase that ended about 3 miles away on Garland Avenue with a crash. Police said that Dawson already had an outstanding violent felony warrant for an alleged domestic assault. He faces additional felony charges linked to the carjacking. The victim, as you can imagine, shaken, but luckily okay. Back over to you.
Thank you, Rob.
Record-setting snow and ice have brought parts of the Carolinas to a standstill.
More on the state's response and when things could get back to normal.
2 people have died during a severe winter storm that pummeled the Carolinas. The governor of North Carolina says more than 1,000 crashes have been reported since the snow started falling. 2 deaths have been confirmed in connection to crashes. Some areas have seen as much as 20 inches of snow, a record-setting amount for the state. Officials say it'll probably take a long time to clear.
We're throwing everything we have at this, but it will take days, even in the least impacted areas, to clear the roads. In some areas, it could be up to a week before secondary roads are clear.
One major traffic jam on Interstate 85 involved more than 100 vehicles.
So much of the country still dealing with winter, but in Punxsutawney, they're waiting to find out what that little fur ball will predict, if it'll be more winter or if it'll be coming to an end. Punxsutawney Phil ready for Groundhog Day. This has taken place at Gobbler's Knob since 1887.
Yeah, the question is, will he see his shadow or will he not? Because if he doesn't, that means the early onset spring. So yeah, but I was telling you all, he doesn't actually see his shadow. They pull out a little scroll and they read it.
Well, we're going to find out. It happens at 7:25. So we'll find out what's on the scroll then, I guess.
I just want to know who is like, how do you get the information that's on the scroll? Like, is that a Phil talking to us, a particular person? Or?
He delivers the message telepathically,
Okay.
I guess.
Okay.
I don't know.
As a scientist, I want to know all the details, obviously. But either way, Phil is cute, and we're going to be watching to see what he says. For those of you heading out this morning, we have plenty of clouds overhead. A warm front currently making its way through our area, and it's this front that will help to, 1, bring our temperatures above freezing this afternoon, and 2, keep some clouds overhead. So here's what we're dealing with right now. We're seeing some flurries and light snow showers in portions of Jennings County, Scott County, and now into Jefferson County in Indiana. For those of you further to the south from near Frankfort down towards Willisburg, you're also seeing some of those flurries flying, but those are quickly pushing towards I-75 in the Lexington area. The storm tracker is out on the roads, and thankfully the flurries that we did have moving through the metro earlier this morning did not create any major issues, so things are looking pretty good overall to start off the day. We're in the teens and low 20s right now. That southerly wind already kicking in, trying to push those temperatures up. Eventually, we'll end up in the low to mid 30s for later on this afternoon, so that nice little warm up will come our way. We are going to keep some clouds overhead throughout the day, and with these clouds will remain that potential for some flurries here and there, especially into the early afternoon. For tonight, the clouds not going anywhere as we fall down into the 20s for your lows, so it'll be cold to start off your Tuesday, which, by the way, is an alert day as we monitor a little bit more of that wintry mix, some rain, some snow coming into our forecast as we head especially into the late morning and the early afternoon hours of your Tuesday. So let's break down a little bit more about what we're expecting for tomorrow morning. Things begin with some flurries flying, especially for those of you along and north of I-64 for early on your Tuesday morning. We get towards lunch, and this is when more of those snow showers start to make their way into our region. Some rain as well moving into our area. Things become more widespread towards that 2, 3 o'clock hour. So as a lot of schools are letting out, as a lot of people are getting, back to work from their lunch breaks, this is when we'll start to see some more of that rain and snow taking over. For those of you in Indiana, you're mainly talking about snowfall. For those of you south of the parkways, you're mainly talking about cold rain in your area, and in between those two spots, basically in between the Ohio River and the parkways, is where we'll see that rain-snow mix across our region. We get further into the evening hours, so past about 5, 6 o'clock. This is when all of the precipitation, whatever's left, will make its way out of our region. Some clouds linger for your Tuesday night into early on Wednesday. Now, for our Tuesday snowfall, areas north of I-64 have a better chance to see 1 to 2 inches of snow. Yes, it can cause some issues here and there on untreated roadways, especially. And as you get further to the south, those totals really drop off, especially south of the parkways, where you're mainly looking at some rain for most of the day. So that's what we're going to be keeping an eye on for the alert day tomorrow. For your Wednesday and Thursday, things are looking relatively quiet, but just chilly across the region as we are below freezing again. And then on Friday, another system will try to bring us a wintry mix. By the middle of next week, though, we could see highs well into the 40s. The question is, how quickly will that warm up happen? That is something that we'll continue to monitor. Ladies.
Thank you. Today's show host Savannah Guthrie's mother has been reported missing in Arizona.
Officials say 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie was last seen in Arizona Saturday night shortly before 10 p.m. Search and rescue teams are searching for the 84-year-old. Deputies have also contacted local hospitals, but none in the area have seen her. The Pima County Sheriff told reporters that aspects of the scene at the home gave grave concern.
This is very concerning to us. You don't typically get the sheriff out at a scene like this, but it's very concerning what we're learning from the house, and so we'll just continue. The detectives, the homicide team is out right now looking at the scene as well.
The search for Nancy Guthrie is still very active. In a statement, the Guthrie family expressed gratitude for the outreach, thoughts, and prayers. They also asked anyone with information to contact authorities.
A federal judge says an immigration enforcement surge can continue in Minnesota. The state and the Twin Cities sued federal officials earlier this month, calling the operation a federal invasion that violated the Constitution. In her ruling, the judge wrote the plaintiffs made a strong showing the enforcement surge has had a profound impact on the state, but says issuing an injunction would harm the government's efforts to enforce immigration law. Minneapolis's mayor said the city will continue to pursue the lawsuit.
Hundreds of protesters gathered in Milan over the weekend, protesting the involvement of U.S. ICE enforcement staff at the upcoming Winter Olympics. The sound of loud whistles echoed throughout the city as protesters spilled into the streets, calling for ICE officers to leave Milan. The ICE personnel being deployed to Milan are from a separate unit from the officers operating in Minneapolis and other U.S. cities. Last week, the State Department announced that several federal agencies, including ICE, would help protect the visiting Americans as they have at past Olympics. President Trump is not ruling out taking military action against Iran. The president says the U.S. could perform military strikes if Tehran does not agree to negotiate a nuclear deal. He made similar threats during Iran's violent crackdown on anti-government protests. President Trump says U.S. military ships are heading towards Iran, but he hopes to avoid strikes.
I certainly can't tell you that, but we do have very big, powerful ships heading in that direction, as you know. I can't tell you, okay. But I hope they negotiate something that's acceptable.
Iran's supreme leader has warned that any U.S. strike on Iran would result in a regional war. The next round of talks between Ukraine, Russia, and the United States aimed at ending the war in Ukraine will take place this week. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky says Ukraine is ready for a meaningful discussion. The first such talks took place in the United Arab Emirates capital last weekend and were hailed by all sides as constructive. A report from the Center for Strategic and International Studies says nearly 2 million people have been killed or wounded since the fighting first started 4 years ago.
President Trump plans to close the Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts for about 2 years so the building can undergo extensive renovations. The tentative date for the closure will be July 4th. That's the country's 250th anniversary. The president said the move is pending approval of the Kennedy Center's board. Those members were handpicked by the president. Nearly 2 months ago, the board voted to rename the arts institution the Trump Kennedy Center. NASA is getting ready to launch the Artemis II rocket into space with 4 astronauts on board. This morning, the agency is preparing for a dress rehearsal at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. The initial plan was to launch the Artemis rocket later this week, but that will be pushed back until engineers can review the results of this dress rehearsal. Once the mission gets underway, the astronauts will orbit the moon in the Orion spacecraft. This will be the first manned mission to the moon in more than 50 years. Well, music's biggest night happened last night.
You'll hear the biggest winners from the Grammys ahead on Sunrise Extra. Filmmaker Steven Spielberg is now part of a distinguished club. He became an EGOT winner on Sunday when he captured his first Grammy. Spielberg won for producing the Music by John Williams documentary. The documentary won the Best Music Film category. Spielberg now has captured an Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, and a Tony. Only 21 other people are EGOT winners. Some of the other big winners from last night's Grammys include Olivia Dean. She was named Best New Artist. Billie Eilish won Song of the Year for Wildflower. Kendrick Lamar and SZA won Record of the Year for Luther, and Bad Bunny, the big winner of the night, for Album of the Year with Debí Tirar Más Fotos. It's the first time a Spanish language album has taken the Grammys' top honor, and a big week for him. He even performs the Super Bowl halftime show next Sunday right here on Wave and NBC. I can't wait.
Congrats. What's the difference between Album of the Year and Record of the Year? Do you know?
There is a difference. I don't know it.
Yeah. All right. We know winter can be really harsh for all of us, but especially for farm animals born in months like January. And a Kentucky family is going viral for letting a newborn calf warm up in their home.
Alyssa Williams has the story.
Living on a farm that's been in their family around 100 years, you could say Tanner and Macy Sorrell are accustomed to the farm life and everything it brings. While you always have to expect the unexpected in this line of work, the Sorrells say last weekend brought more than just a snowstorm to the farm.
There was a little calf laying there that was froze to the ground.
One of their cows had given birth Saturday, right as sub-zero temperatures and heavy snow was hitting central Kentucky. And in order to give the calf a fighting chance, the couple had to act fast.
I threw it in the back of the truck and she drove me to the front. I had nowhere warm to go with it except for the utility room. I came out here to take care of the other calves. When I come back in, Sally was on the couch.
You heard that right. The little calf they named Sally got the best seat in the house to get warm. Macy says it wasn't long before Sally was cuddled up with their kiddos, too.
We had the blow dryer blowing her and towel rubbing her. We got her back feeling good.
After they felt like Sally was in a good place, they reunited her with her mom.
Yeah, she's back there running around. I went back there this morning to check on her, and she come up licking my pant legs. And
Now, usually when a calf is weaned from their mom, they're old enough to be sold off. But the Sorrells say, given this situation, they might have to make Sally a permanent addition to the family. And when asked why they would bring a cow in their home, they say the answer is simple.
that's why God made a farmer. You know, that's what you do.
That's what it's all about. Our animals are just like humans to us. They're part of our family, and we'll bring them in the house anytime and do whatever we can do for them.
Now that Sally's a little stronger, she's back outside, and the family says her mother was very happy to have her back. But just looking at those pictures with the kids cuddling with the calf.
I know.
So cute.
So cute. We'll be right back.
This Wave News Update is sponsored by Oxmoor Auto Group.
Good morning. I'm Shannon Kogan. Breaking this morning, one man is dead and another in the hospital after a double shooting at a Shively club. Police say it happened at Club 7 on 7th Street Road about 3:20 this morning. Police say the victim who died was in his 20s. They did not release his name. Police say the second person is expected to survive. Police have not yet made any arrests. We'll continue to update you right here on Wave News. Let's go to Tawana right now. JCPS on a 2-hour delay today.
Yeah, and many schools are doing the same as we're watching some clouds overhead and some flurries flying here and there. Now, for those of you in Kentucky, most of those flurries have still moved out of your region, still holding on, though, in parts of Franklin County. But we're seeing some of that light snow and flurries showing up anywhere from North Vernon all the way down towards Madison. So I'm going to keep an eye on that. The SkyTrack camera is showing the clouds overhead to start off the day. A lot of that snow on the ground. Your temperatures are in the teens and low 20s as of right now, but we will warm into the low to mid 30s for your afternoon highs. So yeah, some melting coming our way with some of that snow across the region, but the clouds, those are going to stick around with some flurries here and there. We'll watch for more rain and snow showing up in our forecast tomorrow, your Tuesday and alert day, mainly because of that afternoon and evening snow chance. And then once we get towards Friday, another chance for wintry mix in our forecast then. Rob?
Tawana, thanks so much and good morning at 7:28. Still keeping our eyes on a trouble spot, a traffic alert that we want to let you know about. Slowdown still at 65 north. This is the scene at the outer loop after a two-car crash reported just after 6:30 this morning. Up in the upper right corner, I know it's tough to see, but there are still at least 2 emergency responders out there at this point, police cars. So certainly watch your speed in that otherwise always busy area. Otherwise, your pictures are not looking too bad. The Metro traffic cameras pretty clear for now. Make it a great morning. We'll see you in 25 minutes from now.
Good morning. Happy Monday to you. Thanks so much for staying with us here for Sunrise Extra. I'm Olivia Russell, and happy Groundhog Day. Just within the past few minutes, we learned that Punxsutawney Phil saw his shadow. That means he's predicting 6 more weeks of winter. I don't like the sounds of that, but I'm sure the students here love hearing that because, hey, they were out of school all last week, some NTI days for them. But today, JCPS students will be going back to school. They are on a 2-hour delay, so it's their first day back in just about a week because of the NTI days and the winter storm. District operating on a 2-hour delay, so students will still be dismissed at their regular time and after-school activities will remain scheduled as planned. JCPS is also asking those parents who drive their students into school to take some extra time and make sure they get in safely and on time this morning. But as those JCPS students go back to school, Metro Public Works says its crews are still working to keep an eye out for the roads. So parents are asked to keep their kids out of the street, even if the sidewalks are still covered in ice and snow. So if you see a sidewalk that hasn't been cleared, or if you're having trouble getting around, you should contact Metro 311. Clearing sidewalks is the responsibility of property owners, but those reports help the city conduct inspections and take appropriate action. Kentucky's death toll from last weekend's major winter storm has increased to 15. Governor Andy Beshear made the tragic announcement on social media over the weekend. The 3 most recent deaths were a 66-year-old man in Davis County, a 73-year-old man in Ballard County, and a 64-year-old man in Hart County. That brings the total number of deaths to 15. Those names have not been released yet. Governor Beshear said the state will try to help with funeral costs of those winter storm victims. With a prolonged stretch of bitter cold, many Kentuckians are bracing for higher energy bills. Officials with Kentucky Utilities say heating systems are working harder when those temperatures stay below freezing, which can drive up the cost quickly. Alyssa Williams has more on how to stay warm and not break your budget.
This is that time of year as temperatures remain, below freezing, well into the winter months, where we see our heating systems working overtime.
Liz Pratt with Kentucky Utilities and LG&E says before the next bill cycle is here, it's important for people to understand why the way they heat their home matters.
If you think about how your heating system works inside your home, it's first pulling air from the outside into your home, conditioning that air to match the temperature on your thermostat.
She says there are things people can do in their homes now, some that are as easy as a few clicks of a button to help reduce energy costs.
Certainly, we want our customers to stay safe and be comfortable. But if you think about lowering your thermostat just by a couple degrees to the most comfortable setting, that can make a difference.
Pratt adds next, it's all about keeping the cold air out and the warm air in.
Using draft stoppers on your windows and doors, keeping your curtains and blinds closed to block that airflow. If you have sun-facing windows and it's sunny outside, that's the great time to open those blinds and windows, because what that does is allows the sun's natural rays to help heat that room.
She says people can also go on KU's website to take part in their energy efficiency programs that can help save money. But if you think you'll have trouble paying your bill, Pratt says just give them a call.
We have services available. Customers can also use our self-serve options to set up payment arrangements. So we always encourage customers, if you think you may have difficulty paying your bill, please contact us.
Alyssa Williams, WKYT.
And while a lot of people were bundled up inside, some were outside enjoying the snow and maybe getting a little bit creative. A local family snow day project in Southeast Jefferson County turned their front yard into a snowy spectacle, drawing attention online and plenty of visitors bringing them into their front yard. Wave News reporter Meredith Lee tells us more about the winter wonder.
One family's snow day project is now the hottest ticket in town.
My mom told me and I wanted to go. I didn't know it was colorful.
For years, Lauren had dreamed of building a colorful igloo, but Kentucky winters never cooperated until last week.
In Kentucky, we get cold weather and we get snow sometimes, but we never get it together for a long period of time. And this was just the perfect storm.
When temperatures finally dropped and snow arrived, Lauren's husband and their neighbor got to work.
And I was just excited to make my wife happy, always.
For a week, they filled hundreds of pans with water, dyed them a rainbow of colors, and stacked them like frozen building blocks.
And when I first started, and we laid those very first blocks, we didn't know it would come to this, but it's just through just our creativity and her imagination, Lauren's, we were able to continue to build and make it better and better.
Now in its completed state, this igloo can fit about 12 to 15 people standing up. It's even outfitted with a disco ball, but putting it together was no easy task. Lauren posted progress photos online, The response was immediate.
We actually found out about this from my sister who lived in Otimpingen, Switzerland.
Now, families from across the area make the journey to their home, just off of Old Bardstown Road and Providence Drive. They say people are arriving at all hours to snap photos with the kaleidoscope of ice.
People are scooping ice off their driveway and we're putting more on ours. And why? I don't know. And here we are, and there's traffic constantly.
What started as one family's creative outlet is now bringing strangers together, creating memories, one frozen snapshot at a time. Meredith Lee, Wave News.
That is so cool. And I love how they made the opening that you can just walk into it. You don't have to crawl in. So creative and actually really beautiful too, with all those nice colors. One group is working to make sure that every young woman in our area can feel beautiful for their big school dance, no matter how much they can afford to spend on it. This weekend, the organization Giving Loving Heartfelt Prom Dresses had another giveaway. It's a series of distributions where they let young ladies pick up dresses free of charge, no questions asked. They also have shoes, jewelry, purses, and other accessories available. Sandy Lathery started the giveaways 4 years ago in memory of her granddaughter. She talked about the impact it's had, not only on the kids, but also for the people who take care of them.
I've cried with parents, I've cried with grandparents, especially. So many grandparents are raising kids today, and they would not be able to afford it, or they wouldn't be able to go at all. So, yeah, I mean, it's very heartwarming.
There will be another dress giveaway next Saturday at the Vision of Hope Church in Shively from 11 o'clock to 5:30. Such a great thing to do there because those school dances are such a special memory. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with some more international headlines coming up in just 2 minutes. The U.S. government is still in a partial shutdown this morning. The Senate reached an agreement on a funding bill on Friday, but the House has yet to pass a measure. Passage in the House is no guarantee, and not all lawmakers are on board. John Lawrence reports.
The U.S. starts a new week without Washington, D.C. running at full throttle.
The question mark over a government shutdown is certainly a big one and a political problem, really for both parties, but certainly for Republicans right now, as the polling is showing a great deal more pressure on them.
On Tuesday, the House is expected to vote on the funding package that passed through the Senate last week.
Because of the conversation I had with Hakeem Jeffries, I know that we've got to pass a rule and probably do this mostly on our own. I think that's very unfortunate.
The legislation backs most government agencies through much of the year, except the Department of Homeland Security, which will only get funded for 2 weeks while lawmakers work to reform DHS's immigration operations.
Body cameras should be mandatory. Masks should come off. Judicial warrants should absolutely be required, consistent with the Constitution in our view, before DHS agents or ICE agents are breaking into the homes of the American people or ripping people out of their cars.
This partial government shutdown is expected to last until at least Tuesday, while Washington, D.C. tries to come to some sort of agreement.
So I think it's all of our responsibilities to reopen the government.
I'm not just a no, I'm a firm no, and I'm going to advocate with colleagues that they vote no.
I'm John Lawrence reporting.
The longer the shutdown continues, the more travel at airports could be hindered, and some people might not be able to get certain federal loans to buy homes or operate small businesses. A heads up for travelers here, you may need to be prepared to spend a few extra bucks at the airport. A new policy related to real IDs is now in place at airports across the country. Those who don't have a real ID or other acceptable form of ID can still board domestic flights, but you'll have to pay a $45 fee to the Transportation Security Administration. That change started Sunday. We talked to travelers at Muhammad Ali International to see how they felt about the change. Some think the payment option was a good idea.
I just got my real ID because the deadline hit and I did it and I knew I was flying. But I was surprised to see today when I flew that there was that $45 option. So that made it possible to think, oh gosh, if he has to get on a plane, at least he has that option.
So if you don't have a real ID, you can input your information and pay the fee online before your flight. About 94% of travelers own a real ID. You could also use a passport. A federal judge says an immigration enforcement surge can continue in Minnesota. The state and the Twin Cities sued federal officials earlier this month, calling the operation federal invasion that violated the Constitution. In her ruling, the judge wrote the plaintiffs made a strong showing that the enforcement surge has had a profound impact on the state, but says issuing an injunction would harm the government's efforts to enforce immigration law. Minneapolis's mayor says the city will continue to pursue the lawsuit. Protests continue in the name of Alex Preddy, who was shot and killed by federal agents in Minneapolis over a week ago. Preddy was an avid cyclist, and yesterday a Minnesota bike shop that he frequently visited held a ride in his honor. People across the nation did the same, including right here in Louisville. Several different bike groups, shops, and enthusiasts came together at Trellis Brewing for a unity ride. The common sentiment we heard from those at the event was the desire to support others in the community and celebrate the diversity of people in it.
I just think it's important. Alex Preddy was a member of our cycling community, and just seeing what happened to him, and that, if we do decide to stand up for our neighbors, that there are consequences to that, and that's very scary.
The ride went from Trellis Brewing to Jefferson Square on 4th Street over to New Lou. Well, we have a lot to look forward to when it comes to sports, the Olympics coming up and the Super Bowl. We're going to take a quick break and we'll talk about that coming up in just 2 minutes. We are just days away from the start of the Winter Olympics, and crews are putting the final touches on the venues in Milan Cortina. NBC's Jay Gray has more from Italy.
The host is Milano Cortina.
The celebration in northern Italy now stretching to excitement around the world as the 2026 Winter Games are set to begin.
The Milano Cortina 2026 Olympic Winter Games will bring together the best winter sport athletes in Bella Italia, a country that lives and breathes passion.
This is not the first time there have been dual host cities, but in what will be the most geographically widespread games, it is the first time there will be two Olympic cauldrons. One in Milan, home to the major indoor events, including figure skating, hockey, and speed skating. The second in Cortina, where along with a cluster of smaller cities in the Dolomite Mountains, the competitions will include alpine skiing, luge, curling, and more. In all, these Winter Games will feature 16 disciplines with more than 3,500 athletes from 93 countries competing for 195 medals.
They have been dreaming, training, eating, sleeping towards this very important day, or important time.
A time now fast approaching. And the host cities say they are ready, mixing innovation with Italy's unique style and rich history to host the world's biggest winter party. Jay Gray, NBC News, Milan.
The opening ceremonies for the Winter Olympics are on Friday, and you can watch that on Wave and NBC. The Super Bowl teams have arrived in San Jose on Sunday ahead of Super Bowl 60 that's this weekend. The New England Patriots arrived around 4 o'clock Sunday afternoon. It'll mark the 12th Super Bowl for the Patriots. They've won 6 Super Bowls, and they hope to make this number 7. Then the Seattle Seahawks arrived around 5:30 p.m. on Sunday. This will be the 4th Super Bowl appearance for the Seahawks, but they've only won it once. Their last appearance was in 2015 when their opponent was none other than the Patriots, who came out on top. The Seahawks and the Patriots will face off in Super Bowl 60 on Sunday, and you can watch that game right here on Wave and NBC. Coverage starts at noon with kickoff at 6:30. The U of L women's basketball team was back in action on Sunday, riding a 13-game winning streak that saw their last loss coming to third-ranked South Carolina on December 4th. The Cards finishing their West Coast road trip at Cal in a game where the Cards could have overlooked their opponent, with a game coming up against a Duke team that's tied for first with the Cards coming up on Thursday. They show why U of L is just so good. After a back and forth first half, the Cards went into halftime with just a 4-point lead, but out of the locker room, Louisville came out hot. They won both the third and fourth quarters by a combined 8 points, winning the game by a score of 71-59. It's been a different story for the UK women's basketball team over the past few weeks. UK stayed in the top 25 despite them dropping their last 3 games. The 18th ranked Wildcats went into Fayetteville, Arkansas, looking to do what the men's team did the day before, and that was to leave town with a win. The first quarter was a tight one, ending in a 17-17 tie until the Cats went into halftime with just a 6-point lead. The Cats then exploded in the second half. They claimed the 93-73 win. Star center Clara Stack once again led the way, this time with 33 points, 15 rebounds, getting the double-double there. The Cats are back in Lexington Thursday, taking on Vanderbilt at 7 o'clock. Thanks so much for joining us here for Sunrise Extra. Hope you have a great Monday and a great week ahead.